Okay, welcome. This is a short little video that I'm putting together just because I've noticed something kind of recently. It's an observation I made for a while, but I more recently realized that this is potentially more true than I thought it was before. This isn't necessarily a theory, even though you can classify it as such. It's more of an observation, and I think you can potentially build something off of it. So this is WD's Gaster in WD Gaster's role in the skeleton family. So, he's a skeleton. First, get this out of the way. WD stands for Wingdings, which is a font. Sans and Papyrus are named after their own respective fonts, and they speak in that font. Gaster speaks in Wingdings. He kind of looks like a skeleton as well. WD is green. This is slightly less knowledge or known, but he's most likely green. uh, you can see here I think one of the main piece of evidence, or there's a few, but I don't know them all, so I'm just going over the easy ones, which is if you look in Sans and Papyrus's house, you got Papyrus's room on the left, Sans's room on the right, and in the middle there's a framed like picture of a bone with a green background. In theory, this is where Gaster's room would have been, and it's green. It's like you've got Papyrus who represents red, Sans who's representing blue. So you got Gaster was green, which then completes RGB as well. Is WD the father? This is like I don't know. This has no, no reference to this at all. But the rest of these photos are just uh, little snippets I took from YouTube of people's videos where they, animate or essentially portray Gaster as the father or father figure in the Sans and Papyrus like skeleton family. It's just the most accepted one. I don't know where this came from, but my guess is it's almost like a gut reaction. Like it's like people just assumed this and then nobody really scrutinized it and were like, yeah, let's go with that. All right, let's talk about Papyrus, specifically Papyrus Deltarune, who doesn't exist currently. Uh, he is completely missing from Deltarune and is not mentioned anywhere in the game. I'll get to that. Except for the Steam description where he's mentioned to be specifically busy. Except he does appear, I think he is one of the names in the Gonna Maker sequence that Gaster, probably Gaster, reacts to. He's mentioned there, which in theory means he's probably going to appear in the game, but he hasn't appeared so far. That's pretty much the only in-game mention of specifically Papyrus as a named character. Um, and that's probably because he's the forgotten man. It's guaranteed. Can't you see? This is. I wholeheartedly believe that he is the forgotten man. um, but who is Sans' little brother? Oh man, I should have put another photo here. This slide doesn't look that great. Uh, well, he specifically says his little brother. He's never mentioned, or his brother. He doesn't mention Papyrus's name specifically, which, well, is kind of odd. But what if Sans' little brother is actually Gaster, WD? Uh, I, I don't know why. Okay, these photos are not necessarily all in the right places. I feel like these two would be great in the last page. But basically, here's the idea. This is the meat of it, right? So I've got my notes here. So, no precedent for age on any skeletons except for their relative age, aka it's relatively confirmed. You can relatively reasonably believe that Sans is the older brother or acts as the older brother to Papyrus. Um, that means Papyrus would be Sans's little brother. That's true. But it also doesn't prevent Gaster from potentially being the little brother. We say, take a look over here. The snow mounds that you see early on in Undertale uh, have a mound is like a sculpture of Papyrus and then just a little mound of snow with Sans written on it. which doesn't mean a whole lot, but there is a notable absence of anything between them. It's not particularly a big like space, but is could there be a possibility that there's supposed to be something else there? This very much reflects, thinking back on the Undertale Sand the Skeleton Room, the picture of, you know, the Gaster frame in the center here. Like this is, this is telling you Gaster is situated between Sans and Papyrus, which in theory, if you put them together and then look at their ages, it goes left youngest, middle, middle, middle oldest, and then right oldest. So this comic here, exactly. Uh, well, it helps explain potentially why Toby as didn't make Papyrus specifically, or didn't make Sand specifically mention the name Papyrus, because that would be such an easy thing for Toby to write in, right? He would. It's like if he wants everybody to know it's Papyrus, then he would say Papyrus. But if he wants everyone to think it's Papyrus, he would say it's his little brother. That's how I read it, at least. Counter evidence, distance of distant trousel of bones when you listen in on the skeleton family home suggests that Papyrus is currently in the house, but that doesn't necessarily mean uh, that Sans is referring to Papyrus when he's referring to his little brother, right? He could, he sort of says, I should have gotten some photos of it, but Sans sort of says that he doesn't have friends or he hasn't been able to make friends yet. And I don't really remember Papyrus having bad social skills. It might be like an experience thing, right? Um, where he just doesn't have them yet. But I feel like Papyrus's personality wouldn't allow him to, you know, be a loner. Maybe he's just been in the house like all this time. Or maybe he's left every time that we've been in the Dark Worlds or something like that. But the main thing is that Sans doesn't necessarily have to be referring to Papyrus, even if we can confirm that Papyrus may very well be in their house. Implications. What's the implication of Gaster being the so-called little brother? Well, the implications is he's alive, like currently unshattered, currently exists within hometown, theoretically, potentially. Because what's the point of making an observation or a theory if it doesn't actually mean anything? What if Gaster is currently just fine ish? Fine ish. I just made this observation. I thought it would be interesting to talk about. So, yeah, that's what I have to say. Thanks for listening.